Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Gibson Show again ahead of CL. And today we are joined by Nixon from Coalesce. Nixon, bit of a rocky road, as we said just before we started. You didn't know you were going to be here, and lo and behold, because another team didn't take their spot, we've got the one and only Coalesce playing.
Yeah, we was lucky, to be honest, that we got in. We ended up losing to Alpha in the very final. Well, if we beat them, we would have been in. I'm pretty sure. 3 rounds, and we trolled that game so hard. It was so bad. But we thankfully we're blessed anyway, and we made it in. And we really want to prove that we deserve to be in. It's not just a pity and vote.
Yeah. Take us actually through the emotion of watching the final open qualifier, because you got knocked out a little bit early, but at that point there was still a chance you could get in, depending on if a couple of things went your way. They didn't go your way, and I think you ended up missing initially by 5 points. How did it actually feel among the team? Because 5 points at that time was bound to be heartbreaking.
Yeah, so I mean, there was a series of things that had to go our way. I think everything except the semi-finalists, like 2 out of 3 of the things went our way, like Death Row making finals and M&M Academy making finals, and the third one was Ovation not making the semis. And when they made the semis, we was like, oh right, it's over. Like we didn't make it. Emotionally, well, I mean, we've been struggling as a team for a while, like since the end of since NPL really. Like as soon as we made playoffs for NPL, we knew we was going to be undergoing some changes. Zeus ended up leaving, and then with Kane transferring away and stuff. So yeah, it was end of team at that point. It was over for sure. And then all of a sudden we are scrimming with our trials that we was going to trial for next season, for NPL, and and then all of a sudden Noah decided, we got the email and we messaged Noah, and Noah was like planning on leaving, and then and we got the email mid scrim with our trials, and like, guys, we're in CL, and like our trials are the trial was sat there like, oh my god, like I'm obviously now not getting a spot, but at least we made it. So yeah. Roller coaster.
It's not about the journey, it's about how you get there in the end. And regardless of how NPL went, regardless of how the open quals went, you're there now. Everybody's on the same footing, everybody's got the same chance of making it through the knockouts. So I'm sure you're pretty excited about it, because as we said, it's been a long time coming. You had time with Koana, you had time with Wilds, you've been on a couple of teams where everyone kind of thought, yeah, this is it, this is Nixon's chance to make CL. Lo and behold, the middle of MPL season, transfer, Coalesce not going pretty well at all. In comes Nixon, results start turning around, Coalesce start winning games. Do you feel like it's a bit of a redemption arc for you now, and you finally made it?
Yeah, I feel like it was a long time coming. I got really close with Kavana, and then really close with Wild, and Wild fell apart. This felt like again, we were basically falling apart at the final hurdle, and then so it felt like deja vu. It's like, oh, we're falling apart again, right before the CL. But thankfully, since we made CL, and everyone's excited, and everyone wants to play the game, and everyone wants to try hard, and obviously with us being in Challenge League, it means we can actually get paid now properly. So it's definitely a redemption arc as far as right, finally the team hasn't fallen apart. We're still a unit, and we're still ready to go. So
a lot of us casters and talent, we always talk, and I don't know if you've ever heard it, but sometimes when we're on broadcast, we like to compare you to Sam Allardyce. Things are going unsteady, things aren't going good for the team. We'll bring in Nixon. He'll secure, he'll keep us up. That's what Nixon does. He brings a bit of structure. What do you think about that kind of comparison? Do you like it, or how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, my value to teams is the fact I think I've played like 10 seasons of nationals now, and I'm always like the support player. Like I prefer to play with players who have like little experience, and just like because I can, like, my skills is to get them to a level like really high. Like if they can shoot back, I can support them, and like my team now is full of gunners, like just full of gunners. Like I lead the pack, I support the pack. I do all the support work. I do all the strat work. I do a lot of that stuff, and I enjoy doing that stuff. It's what I'm good at doing. So me being that support player elevates the rest of the team. So yeah, I guess I'm brought in when teams need building. Like, that's what I'm for.
Yeah, because I think we were talking during the season of MPL, and I had a good conversation with Whippet actually, and he was like, well, Zeus and Noah and Kane, those guys are absolute gunners. All they need is somebody to actually tell them where to be and how to kind of act. And I think we did notice that when you came in, the results did turn around. You went from being a team that everybody was ruling out as like probably going to be going down to a team that was winning games, and you went head to head with M&M over the course of the rest of the season for results. So looking at the upcoming CL knockouts now, or sorry, group stages, it's a very NPL feel to it. What, 16 teams, 5 of them are in NPL. Every single team seems like they have someone on another team who has played from them in the past. Obviously you've Kane, he's made a move. You're going to maybe get a chance to play against Wild, your old team, at some point, which would be, I think, the second time.
They're in our group, so yeah.
I think it's the second time you've played against them since.
Yeah, since leaving, last year.
So you've got that game to look forward to. You've got the chance to kind of prove yourself against the likes of 10-star Victus and Viperio again.
Yeah, so, Viperio, Wild, and Ascend is our group, so we get to play. It's probably group of death, I'd say. We get to play against Kane, straight away, and then Wild straight after that. So yeah, it's a lot of rivalry straight away in the groups, which is good.
So the question I gotta ask then, going into this one is, how happy are you that EFAC is not playing for Ascend and you're not going to have to deal with him?
I like EFAC. The thing is, his team is...
No one has a bad word to say about him. Everyone loves him.
Yeah, the thing is, his team isn't, that team isn't just EFAC. He's a star player, sure, but his team's really good without him. So it's not just with him or without him. Like, I think they're still a strong opponent. It's probably a bit easier he's gone, but the guy who replaced him has been around a long time and is a good player as well. So yeah, still gonna be a good game. Yeah,
they made a couple of pretty good pickups. So looking at your group, then you've called it the group of death. I think if you look through most groups, every group is really strong. You don't get here without earning the right to be here. But like I said, Wild, Ascend, Viperio, and yourselves, how important do you think it is to really get off to a good start this weekend? Because it is best of ones. It's the toughest format of Siege to play because anybody can beat anybody. I think best of ones does add an element of luck to things as well. Game 1, how important is it that A, you play really well as a team, and B, is just enjoy it?
Yeah. I mean, we're happy we're in Challenge League, but that also means that the pressure is off as far as like what we expected ourselves, because going back a month when we lost Kane and we was going to lose Noah, we were in a position where like we didn't scrim for a month. Like after NPL, we didn't scrim for a month. We've been working really hard ever since we knew we made CL. I think teams are going to underestimate us, and we definitely have a chance to like really upset these teams. I do think we do have the ability to do it, for sure. So yeah, winning these first few games when teams are going to be surprised at how good we actually are, I think is going to be really key to getting out of this group, because there is 3 very strong opponents we're up against. So I think it's going to play a factor.
Yeah, I think if you look at each of the teams in your group, then we'll kind of start with Wild. We've spoken before, back when I started casting, and you've always said it. You love the org. You have a lot of good things to say about the org Wild. How does it feel for you to go against them, considering the success that they've had? They've been to a major LAN event. They performed incredibly well. They won their national league as well. like both of you have gone on to do pretty good things since you split, but now you get to face them again.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to see them grouped. I think they deserve to do well, but I'd love to group them all the same. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, it's you can't have friends. I think in a group stage, it's a case of as you want everyone to do well, but you want you to do better. You want to be in that top two. So next we kind of turn our eyes to Viperio, and this is a roster that's kind of been rocked by players, moving on to the next stage. They've lost Groovy, they've lost multiple players over the last, couple of months. Do you feel that with the changes they've made, now is a pretty good time to play them, or do you still think they're going to be very dangerous with the players that are still in place?
I think they've got a good individuals. They do weird stuff with Hungry. Like Hungry's like plays in, it depends how well he gels with the new players, because Hungry's a very specific player. He wants to play the game in a very specific way and have other things happen specifically. It's very interesting in that way. And if these players can't do that, I see his play style falling apart. So Kane has the ability to play that role, but again, he's not playing he's not playing the role he was on when he was on the team with me. And so I think I think they're definitely going to struggle a bit, for sure. Definitely right time to like exploit that with them being on new roles, especially Kane. I think he hasn't practiced before, so
yeah. So I think then finally we're going to talk about his end. We already spoke about the fact that EFAC is gone, and we all agree he was a star. He really was up there with some of the best players to ever play at the tier 3, tier 2 level. But, we spoke about as well, they've brought in some very good players. It's not as if you could nearly say they've brought in different types of players than EFAC, but I think as a whole, they're still going to be a very formidable side to play. How do you think it's going to be to play against them in this competitive environment?
Yeah, I think the players they brought in are like really heavily experienced, but I think they lack the gunpowder that like my team has. I think losing EFAC, they lose some of that, and with the roster change, they've definitely structured, but I don't think the structure is going to have enough time to set in. Versus a team like us who had, I know we have 2 new additions as well technically, but our structure isn't changing because I bring the structure, whereas they are new additions. They're the people who bring the structure. So I think their structure is not going to have enough time to set in, and our gunpowder is going to prevail over that. So yeah, I do think, Viperio and Ascend are going to look quite like it's going to be doable for us for sure.
Yeah, I think if you actually look at CL as a whole, the amount of rosters that have changed, 1, 2, or even more players since the start of the national leagues earlier on this year, the league looks very different than what it could have looked, a couple of months ago. So I want to actually touch on the other groups now a little bit too, and we'll talk about some of the teams and who you think is going to go through, because we can't have an interview like this without a little bit of spice and those texts as to who you think is going to be the best in each one. So we'll kick it off with Group A. You've got Victus, Rebels, J-Lings, and Viali Petoni. Obviously, another very strong group. You look at the teams there. Victus, of course, stand out straight away. J-Lings, they've got so much experience on their side. You look at the changes Rebels have made. What are your thoughts on that group, and who do you think is going to be the top 2?
Top 2, I think Viali Petoni are actually going to do quite well. I reckon. I think Victus will be in the top 2. Rebels will either be first or either first, second, or third. You're probably looking at Victus, and then it's a tough one. Anyone could really take the second position, I think, in that group. If I was pushed, I'd probably say I probably would say Rebels. Just because I probably would say Rebels, Victus.
Yeah. So basically, you're locking it on Victus, and then you're saying it's a tentative Rebels for second place.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think Victus are too explosive in best of ones. I think they do too many. They do so much. They have so much ability to play together that I think they will outlast in best of ones. I think those little plays, I think they're better at them. So I think they'll come out on top of the group.
Cool. And then looking at Group B, you've got Activity, LAN Party Hotel, Ovation, and Death Row. Looking at that, that's an interesting one, because I think LAN Party Hotel are going under the radar. You know, they won their National League. I think they're, you know, for that region, I think they're a very good team. You know, they'll surprise some people. But for your thoughts, where do you think Group B lies?
I definitely think it's the weakest group.
Right.
It has to be the weakest group. Death Row's in this one, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll top the group, and then second place. I think any of them really could. I don't think it. I think this is definitely the weakest group. I think Death Row's going to roll over everybody, and then whoever like is the best out of the others is going to take second. I really can't call that.
Yeah,
I'm not too sure.
You know, obviously spoke about Group C, which was your group, which was, you know, on paper's the scary one. So that leaves us with Group D. You have 10 Star, you have Makers, you have M&M Academy, and Les Pachichi. Les Pachichi, of course, they made it in similar circumstances to yourselves, that final qual, but they got quite a lot of points over that one as well. So looking at that group, who do you think the main two is, and if anyone was going to sneak in, who do you think that could be?
So I think 10 Star will probably top it again. They seem pretty strong. I think people are saying MKers, but I don't. I think their time is over. I think your Les Pachichi have a good chance. Who's the last one in that group?
The last one is M&M Academy.
Yeah, M&M Academy. I think they'll probably come. Like, they're on good form for these last two Challenger League qualifiers. The new additions definitely fit the roles that they missed. That was what they was really missing. Like, Nerf's been a really good Nerf similar to me in the fact that he's like a good support player and he's like wants the players. So I think Nerf will. I think M&M Academy will probably come second. But again, if they're on bad form, because again they hit form a couple of weeks ago, they might start playing bad now, and then if they do, then I reckon like maybe Les Pachichi will manage to sneak into third.
Yeah, I think the two French sides look very good. You know, Les Pachichi, you got to say, look very good, and obviously Ascend. So I think maybe just kind of what the people in the community are saying, apart from Wild in Germany, it is really dominated by MPL and France. So I kind of want to touch on the MPL then. Why do you think the teams from that region are so good at the minute? You know, there's 5 out of 16 teams. That's nearly, 33% of the whole of Challenger League comes from that one particular region. What is it about that area that's creating so much talent and, building so many good teams?
Yeah, I mean, even 6 out of 10 of the EUL teams are majority NPL teams. I think just being part of, like, having connections in that community help you improve, like, as a team, as a player, and then the teams form because of it. So, like, if you know the people who are already in EUL, who are, and you're friends with them people, you learn off them. And over the years, that has meant that, we have people to go to ask questions to, whereas other communities, like, a lot of the smaller national leagues don't have the people to go to because there's nobody in your region better than them. Yeah, I think it's a lot to do with that, really.
Yeah. No, I think it's something that I just find so interesting, and some people you speak to say it's to do with the fact that there is levels below MPL. There was UKIN 2, you had FEL, there was more feeder leagues, so there was more opportunity for players to play in a competitive environment, and I think the region as a whole has benefited from it. So that kind of brings us towards the end of the interview, Nixon, but there's one thing I want to say before we finish, and it is, I am so glad you finally got a headset. It's about time.
Yeah, it's we got paid, and then finally
at long last, no more duct tape or masking tape holding a headset together.
Holding the headsets together. Yeah.
So
yeah, it was long overdue.
Any last words for yourself before we wrap up?
Yeah, I hope you all support us. Tune in over the next 2 weekends or whenever this goes out. You know, we're really looking to put up a fight, and I think we will surprise some people. So yeah, cheers on.
Thank you. Best of luck. And if you haven't already, please give Nixon a follow on his socials and give Coalesce a follow as well. And, you know, if you didn't know, you can catch all the action. Myself and Whippet and a few other MPL casters will be covering it, so we'll keep you updated on that too. But thanks, Nixon, for joining us, and we'll see you all later.